I'm going to stop shit.
Yeah, stop so they can see our beautiful faces.
That's pretty much it. Uh,
Well,
hello.
welcome, everybody. I think I've met most of you before, but my name's Kate. I'm the admin manager at Metavision. I've been here a few years now, and I kind of do a lot of things. I'm always your first contact here. And yeah, through your studies, I will be in contact with you. You can't get rid of me, unfortunately. So welcome. Thank you for coming. I know it's a tricky time. It's 6 o'clock in New South Wales. I'm in Queensland, so it's 5 o'clock for me. So it's dinner time. But yeah, thank you for taking the time. I think some of you have come to our free talks before, but they're always different. It's always interesting to see what comes up for people. So we have Paul with us today who will be hosting the free talk because he's an amazing speaker. And he's always aiming to make people cry. I don't know why.
Happy tears, happy
Yeah,
inspirational
happy
tears.
cries. Yeah. So I'll let him get on with the presentation, but I wanted to say that please feel free if you have any questions at any point to pop up your hand or butt in or pop them in the chat if you don't feel like talking. But we do allow space at the end as well to ask questions on anything that you have, and we'll try and answer them as best we can, or we'll come back to you tomorrow. We finish up next week, so we're in little holiday mode mind set at the moment. I was telling Paul, but still got another week of work, so we zone out for a little bit. That's why. Who's Lizzie said sometimes your camera will be off, but you're here. That's fine. If you want to turn your camera off, no problems at all. Yeah, so I will hand over to Paul and hopefully we'll have some good questions come through. We love good questions. Thanks, guys. All yours, Paul.
Thank you, Kate. So I'm Paul Miles-McCann. I'm the Dean at Metavision, which is a really exciting role for me to be in. I look around the room. Adult learners, that's what we get in this field. I started studying in this field in my early 30s. I had done a range of kind of mediocre jobs in my 20s, some of which were interesting, some of which felt like they would turn into a career, and they didn't. Most of which were underpaid. I was really lucky in that I started dabbling around in community services and got some casual work working with homeless teenagers, which turned into some casual work working in an adolescent rehab. And the people who ran that said, "We've got a full-time job. We think you should go for it." And I said, "Okay, I will." And I interviewed and it went really well. And they went, "You interviewed really well, but we only hire graduates." It's like, "Oh, but if you enroll in uni, we'll give you the job." It's like, "Oh." So that was my motivation. That was my incentive to go to university at about 32. I think tertiary education is a wee bit wasted on school leavers. It's my belief that to work in this field, to work in counselling, where you're responsible for and holding the emotional fragility of people who may be in a little bit of a crisis or a huge crisis, I think to do that, you need to have had at least a few years out of high school. Ideally, you should have been overseas. You should have at least 1 year in a mediocre, underpaid, repetitive job, so you know what the experience of a lot of people's lives are going to be like. Sad to say, you need to have had your heart at least slightly broken once. Maybe you need to have woken up in the toilet of a downstairs nightclub in Darlinghurst. Not sure how you got there. Maybe you need to have done that. Maybe you don't. Basically, you need some of your smooth edges knocked off, and then you're ready for this. And I've worked in the field and in higher ed since 1996 or 97, and it's been phenomenal. I love working with adult learners. I love the field that you are looking at stepping into. When I've worked in clinic, there was never a day where I thought, "Oh, work." It was always exciting to go to work. Working in higher ed, it's the same. I love the excitement that I see in the faces of students, whether I'm teaching them or whether I'm working with the academic team who do 98% of the teaching here. I don't teach a lot. I get to do the fun stuff like I meet you now, and I'll meet you at the intensives, and I'll give you your testimony at graduation. But most of my time is looking at strengthening the college, looking at our courses, how we can continually improve them, stuff like that. I need to acknowledge my dog. So just in case he gets up, there's a very large dog behind me. That's Decker. So let's turn on the slides and let's talk about what makes Metavision a really exciting college to be at. So share screen. There we go, studying at Metavision. So as I said, I'm Paul Miles McCann. I'm Professor of Psychotherapy and the Dean of Education here. Okay, who are we? We've been around since 2004. We were accredited by PACFA, the Counselling and Psychotherapy Federation of Australia, in 2011. About 4 years ago, we transitioned from being a training institute to a higher ed institute. So our degrees are accredited by an organisation called TEXA, the Tertiary Education Quality Standards Agency. They are a big, daunting government bureaucracy whose job is to make sure that if we say we're teaching accounting, we teach subjects related to accounting. If we say we're teaching psychotherapy, we teach subjects that are deeply engaged in psychotherapy. We have to prove the continual improvement that we do on our courses year by year. We need to show that our teaching staff are qualified in terms of the training they've done and experienced in terms of their clinical work. What Texas says is if people are going to make a significant investment of money and time in a degree, they, TEXA, need to know that the college that they are accrediting is of a high standard. So it's a very important aspect for higher ed providers. It's very important for us at the moment because we're going through the process of reaccreditation, which we have to go through every few years. And that forces us to look really deeply at what we do. We look at our student satisfaction survey. We look at our feedback from our educators. We look at how well we engage in the community. We make sure that the learning outcomes of the college aligned to the courses aligned to what's actually taught. And one of the things we need to show is graduate attributes and how they will translate into jobs at the end of your degree. So that's what TEXA is. We're a holistic approach, so we don't just teach some counselling skills and that's it. Everything is about everything. We want you to engage in your internal monologue. We want you to think about the family of origin that you grew up with. We want to think about the country that you migrated from or that your ancestors migrated from. We want to think about the time you had your heart broken. And what did that teach you about pain and vulnerability? We want you to look at the world, even though it's a daunting, scary place at the moment, and figure out, how do I fit into this kind of chaotic state that we're in at the moment? What's my sense of comfort or discomfort with the physical health of the planet? So we're literally going from your internal world to your engagement with the physical environment, to your engagement with the political world, through to what's your understanding of spirituality. And that's not coming from any particular religious bent. It's what's your understanding of the world beyond the physical that we inhabit. I've taught at, I'm counting, about 5 or 6 colleges in this area. There was only one that was prepared to ask students to consider their spiritual life and to figure out who they felt they were in the big picture, not just within their postcode. So, these are the things that make us a unique experience. We feature in-person intensives for our blended courses. So we have the Graduate Diploma of Counselling and the Master of Counselling and Psychotherapy. They will all feature intensives, which are 5 days, 5 days, and 3 days each year. So there are 3 intensives each year, and they will be held in Brisbane.
6 days, 6 days, and 3 days.
Thank you. Continuous improvement. This is why Kate is, because she keeps me in line and accurate. And while you're there, you will meet the students who you will study with for the next 2 years, if you're doing the masters, or the next year if you're doing the grad dip. So we teach in a really unusual model called the cohort model. If you're at a big uni, you might do Psych 101 and Sociology 101 this term and Philosophy 101. And then next term, you might do different subjects with completely different students. Or you might do some of those same psych subjects with some of those same psych students. And that's it. You'll develop some nice friendships along the way. I still know people who I studied with in the 90s. We use a different model. The people who you enroll with on day one will do the same subjects with you along the way. The reason we do that is because there is a huge amount of learning that happens interpersonally in the area that we are teaching and studying. We can teach you lots of theories. We can give you our experiences along the way. That's all augmented by the relationships that you will develop with students, and you will metaphorically push and pull each other through the degree. You'll help each other on assessment tasks. You'll share reading resources. You'll complain about the workload at certain points. You'll argue with each other. You'll find really good friendships. You'll get a wee bit narky at people along the way, and you'll have discussions, and then you'll put that back together, and that will form a deeper, stronger friendship. And that's the magic of the cohort. It's pulling all of those interpersonal experiences into the overall education experience that you get. It's not just what happens in the books. It's not just what happens in a lecture theatre. It's the personal development that you experience by going through this process with people who are going through this process. Because while we do this, we're going to ask you to do something called inner work, which means getting into your head, getting into your soul, and finding out what beauty is down there and maybe what slightly scary parts are down there. And we want you to share those experiences with your peers. Again, this is what differentiates us from other colleges. They might teach a really nice Bachelor of Counselling or Bachelor of Psych Science or whatever. They're far less likely to say, put yourself into the course, put yourself into the learning, look at what's happening in your family life away from college and weave that into what you're studying at college. So you become as much a focus of the learning as the theories and skills that we or any other college would teach you. Okay, so as I say, it's a holistic model, and it looks at how complex we are as humans. Examining the self can be messy, so we try and do it within a structured model, and we try and do it so that each unit that you study builds on what has come before. It's very much a course that has been designed to have a flow where your accumulation of knowledge is paralleled by your intrapersonal growth. So we provide the structure to allow you to examine that. Holistic means everything is connected. So it's your physical body, it's your cognitive mind, and it's your emotions. We try and see those as one part of one whole of you, not individual parts that we put more emphasis on one or the other. So this is what we mean by holistic. It's everything about you and everything about you within the social and physical world. Why holistic? Because it brings those three things together, the mind, the body, the spirit. It focuses on you as a person, not just as someone with anxiety or someone with a bit of a drinking problem or someone who used to have a gambling history. It looks at why did those things occur? What are the things that helped you get over it? How does that help you understand the clients who you're going to work with? I'm not going to say put up your hands and say who has a trauma background or a substance abuse background, but pretty much I would say 60% of people who come to study a course like this are here because something went wrong for a while in their lives and they've managed to pull themselves back together and want to use those challenging experiences to create an empathic and kind therapist. So again, this is why we want you to put yourself into the story. Little bit of self-disclosure. I had fairly significant bullying for 3 or 4 years at school and slipped into a major depression. That's why I failed high school. Even at the time, I thought I want to be a therapist because I want to find out why this happened. And I've kind of, my research is gender, sexuality, and bullying. So I managed to figure out some aspects of why that occurred. But I also wanted to use what my teenage years were like and what my semi-crappy 20s were like. I wanted to try and use that to create a clinician, a therapist. Clinician's a bit of a harsh word, therapist's nicer. And also an educator. So this is why we look at everything about our lives as part of the course. We're very much client-centered. So you're going to start off with the work of Carl Rogers, who developed the client-centered, person-centered model, where it's all about ways in which you connect with the client. So we will teach you those skills. It's collaborative. As I said, the people in your room are going to be the people who carry you and you carry along the way from now until the end of your life. By doing all of these things, you'll be teaching yourself how to look after yourself long term. And that then becomes one of the skills that you will be able to take out into the real world when you become a therapist. So past, present, future, everything is overlapping and interrelated. You can't separate your current self from what you want your future self to be. You can't separate your current self from your past. All of those things will be overlapping and interrelated and self-referential. This is why we bring all of these things together: the spirit, the psyche, the physical body, and the physical world, and how those different parts of yourself all interact. So the Metavision educators are very, very lovely group of people. One of the great things about working in education is that I get to work with such an amazing team, and the people who have studied in our area, counseling and psychotherapy, they will generally have studied specifically in process-oriented psychology, the Mendel model, which is the core of Metavision. They're really kind, gentle people. It's not just about imparting information, it's about supporting the students along the way. So we're always looking to see how you're progressing academically, but also how you're progressing on a personal level. One of the nice things about being a small college is that the staff generally know all of the students by name. I went to Sydney for my first degree and I loved it. But there were also 60,000 students there. There were 1,800 first-year psych students. My first lecture was in a room of 400 people. And that was great in terms of theatre, a really engaging lecturer, but it was very one way. Here, when we're teaching you, they will be small groups. You will interact with your educator. They will know how you're going because they will know who you are. They'll pick up if you're having a bad day. If you look like you're struggling with an assessment, they'll reach out. Because we're small, we have that ability to hold the students along the way. So everyone here has a higher degree and everyone here has clinical experience. When we're teaching, we try and use a range of techniques. So there'll be a lecture. There will be, this is the theory of what we're doing. There'll be a skill demonstration where the lecturer might ask someone to join them up on stage and go through this particular technique. As you get into the degree, there'll be times where we'll say, okay, who would like to do a role play? And two students will do it together. Where we'll gently push you, but we're not going to push you to the extent that you feel exposed. If you are presenting in front of the class, it's because you feel you're ready to do that. And, that's a wee bit daunting the first time you do it, until you realize that the work that we're doing it's very much coming from within. Yes, we're going to give you the theories and we're going to give you the skills, but what's going to come out when you're doing those practice sessions, or when you're doing your placement and working with real at-risk people, or when you are in the workforce, what's going to come out is the heart and the soul that brought you here in the first place. The course will give you the language and the techniques to help draw someone out. But what's going to be really apparent is people will be drawn out by your nature, by your kindness. By the time we're saying, who would like to do a role play, and you put your hand up, you'll be feeling relaxed enough to go up and just be authentic and present. And again, from an educator's point of view, that's really exciting to watch. It's lovely to see students who sometimes feel a little trepidatious at the first lecture or the first intensive, and seeing how quickly those skills become embedded and how quickly that sense of confidence begins to emerge. That's, as much as anything, that's what we're teasing out of you. Graduates, 74% work as holistic counselors. This is data that we need to be able to present to TEXA to say people who graduate are working in the field. 26% are seeing over 10 clients a week. So 10 clients at, what are you going to charge? 150, 180 an hour. Work out what your income's going to be. You might work for an agency. You might work in private practice. There will be different ways in which you will utilize the skills into the clinical world. At some point, you might go teaching. At some point, you might come back and teach. Kate, what percentage of our staff have been through Metavision?
I would say over 50%, if not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our teachers, our CEO, our academic staff, most of them have been through the Metavision course.
I was interviewing for new staff today because we have some courses that we need some further help on, and 3 out of the 4 people who I'm interviewing are graduates. So we don't just want to give you your degree and send you out into the blue. We would love it if you develop a long-term relationship with us. Education and therapy go together so well because it's about being able to communicate and to be able to share the importance of the message that's embedded in all of our lectures. So 64% are outside major metropolitan cities. COVID was obviously horrible, but what it did show was that this work can be done remotely. We taught online during the pandemic. I wasn't here at that time. I was working as a therapist, and the clinic I worked at pivoted from face-to-face to online within 3 weeks, and it worked. Telehealth is incredibly effective in supporting people through a mental health crisis. You don't have to have a clinic on Macquarie Street or Collins Street or Queen Street or Rundle Mall. I'm not sure if anyone's here from other cities. I think I managed to get a major street from 4 of the capitals there. You don't have to be in those locations to do this work. 70% fund skills help in all areas of their lives. Yes, because these are life skills. This is, I'm sure you're all great people. This is about making you even better, helping you become a fuller, more aware person. So, of course, those skills are going to help in your relationships. They are experiential courses, and 90% of students loved that aspect because it's not just textbook based, it's not just watching a lecture, it's engaging with each other, it's engaging with the educators, and it's engaging with the public when you go out and do a placement towards the end of your degree. So, courses that we offer: graduate diploma in counselling, holistic practice. Now, we teach that blended. That means you'll have access to our learning management system online. There will be resources on there. There will be tutorials. Generally, they will happen once a week for the whole course. So if you're doing 4 units, you'll have one of those every 4 weeks. They will go for about 90 minutes. There will be readings every week. There will be videos to watch. There'll be a requirement to buddy up with another student and do practice sessions or to have a discussion around a topic. Then you'll come to campus 3 times a year, and a lot of the content is delivered face-to-face in those intensives, and a lot of the practice sessions and a lot of the bonding with your peers happens in those moments. Next year, for the first time, we're offering the Graduate Diploma of Holistic Counselling online only. It is basically the exact same degree as the Grad Dip in Counselling. The reason we're offering it this way is for a couple of reasons. The Grad Dip blended version feeds into the Master of Counselling and Psychotherapy. The Grad Dip is basically the first year of the Masters. The Masters is accredited by PACFA, the Psychotherapy and Counselling Federation of Australia. PACFA will only accredit a degree over 2 years. So the Grad Dip on its own is not PACFA accredited. The Grad Dip, when it's nested into the Masters, as the Masters, it is PACFA accredited. The Grad Dip online is not PACFA accredited. Now, the reason we have designed that is because some people are already in practice. Some people have done a counselling degree elsewhere. They already have PACFA registration. They want to learn the process-oriented psychology model that we teach. So it's designed for them. That's really the only difference. It's taught completely online. 3 hours a week online. We're probably looking at about 2 p.m. to teach those units. They will be done 2 units at a time for 8 weeks, and then straight into 2 units at a time for 8 weeks to make up a 16-week semester. The Grad Dip and the Masters are both taught over 16-week semesters. The Masters, as with the Grad Dip, you'll have access to the learning management system. You will do a lot of self-directed study. There will be regular tutorials, and again, another 3 face-to-face intensives that will happen in Brisbane. Okay, so this is the new course, the online only. It is TEXA accredited because it is basically the same as the Grad Dip blended. It's just that it doesn't have the blended component. No in-person intensives. It's done in 12 months. It's great for people who don't need or already have PACFA membership. And upon completion, you'll be able to enter the online masters, which we're still in the process of developing. So that's the difference between the Grad Dip online and the Grad Dip blended. We also have a holistic counselling skills course. Runs for 8 months, online only. 4 modules done over those 8 months. It includes academic writing skills. This is designed for people who don't have a tertiary degree, but want to come in. This will bridge people in because it will give you the foundational counselling skills and, importantly, the academic writing skills. To come into the Grad Dip or the Masters, you should have an undergrad degree in a related area. You can have it in a non-related area. two of my best students were accountants who decided they wanted to come into a new area. So they could do a shorter bridging course just on counseling skills. This is designed for people who, like me, didn't complete high school, don't have an undergrad. Now, you may have worked in the area for a while, and you may then do this course, which will give you the skills to bring you in to the higher ed course without going through a full bachelor's. So accreditation, the graduate diploma, both versions have TEXA, Tertiary Education Quality Standards Agency. The master's has TEXA and PACFA. Okay, so technical details for the grad dip. I'm going to read this through and I'll go slowly because there's a lot of data and it's hard to absorb information if you're reading while I'm talking. So I'll try and do it slowly. Student selection criteria and process, which ensures students meet the inherent requirements and have fitness to practice for successful program completion. Inherent requirements means you can do what we're asking you to do. So if you have anxiety, that's fine. I have low-level anxiety and I'm functional. If you have florid schizophrenia and you're hearing voices 6 days out of 7, you're probably not going to meet the inherent requirements until that is managed. The example of that is I would like to be a pilot. That would be great fun. But I get really bad travel sickness, so there's no way I can be a pilot. Therefore, no flying school would ever take me because I don't meet one of the inherent requirements, the ability to be in a plane without getting airsick. So you also need a qualification from a university or a registered higher ed provider at AQF level 7 or above, which is bachelor's, which includes counseling skills or training in a cognate field. Cognate just means related. So we would look at nursing or teaching or social work, or a non-cognate degree, my accounting students, and the completion of a bridging course, which would be in the skills, or relative experience in a cognate field for at least 12 months. But you don't have the undergrad degree, but you complete that 8-month bridging course, including foundations of academic writing. We're not going to take you into a course which is going to cost you $22,000 or $45,000 if you can't write at the level that we require. So we will teach you that and make sure you know the slightly arcane format for writing in an academic format. It can be taught. It's not impossible. There are just techniques that you need to learn, and we teach that part of you. And all students undergo an interview. We're just sounding out to make sure that you're here for the right motivation, that you've got what we can pick up as being the right emotional maturity level to do this kind of work. On one hand, this is not rocket science. This is about skills and self-awareness. And on the other hand, it's more important than rocket science because it literally is life and death work. So we want to get a sense that you're going to be ready for those challenging moments when they do happen at the end of your degree, when you meet the public. The Masters of Counselling admission criteria. Selection criteria and process which ensure students meet the inherent requirements again and have fitness to practice. And a qualification from a university or higher ed provider at AQF level 8, grad dip, which includes counselling skills or training in a cognate field and attending an interview. Information, there we go, 2 times 6 days and 1 times 3-day intensives per year. We do have part-time for the blended grad dip, but it's only full-time for the online. The intensives will be held in Brisbane. You need to attend the intensives for PACFA membership. They require that a certain percentage of your degree or a certain number of hours of your degree is delivered face to face. And this is where you meet your peers. This is where you meet your educators face to face. Okay, payment costs for the grad dip, blended or online, $22,490. For the masters, $47,575. This is why TEXA are so strict on us. We're asking you to invest quite a lot of money. And they need to know that what we're teaching you is rigorous, it's based on science, and that the graduate outcomes are that you will get work at the end of this. That is our goal. There is an early bird December that's something I didn't update earlier. What's the cutoff date for early bird?
It was the end of November, but we've extended it to Friday this week.
I saw that. I can just see that now in the red star until the 13th of December. Payment plans. Nicely done. Payment plans per semester and can be fortnightly or monthly. This is an investment, but it's an investment in your future and your future earnings. As I said, I had some interesting, some not so interesting jobs, but my salary was always way below the average until university. And that was life-changing in terms of my income capacity went up significantly. So the cost of the course was paid off relatively fast. And just life satisfaction, which you really just can't quantify. Thank you. Any questions? I'm going to turn the share off so we can see each other. And if you have any questions.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Thank you, Kate.
Yes, please feel free. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Eva.
Hey, thanks for that. It was very informative. My question is around part-time versus full-time. I'm trying to decide which is best for me. Can you give us some information about the time commitment of the two options?
Okay. What's the rest of your week look like?
So I look after my child 2 days a week, and I'm not working otherwise, but I do have an artistic practice that I want to know how much capacity I'd have to maintain.
It's a really hard question. I think there's something really magical about immersive study. So where you are doing it and it is such a big part of your week. Having said that, how old's your kid?
3.
3. Okay. A little bundle of energy. You can start off part-time. You can do part-time for the first 2 years and then go full-time and finish it then. You've got that flexibility. Are you thinking online or blended?
Blended, definitely.
Okay, cool. So you would be looking at, we normally say about 9 hours per subject per week. Now, that could be a 90-minute tutorial. That could be 5 hours reading. That could be watching 2 hours of recordings of people in practice. There will be some weeks where you don't have a tutorial, where you get your readings done in 90 minutes and that's it. And then there are weekends where you have an essay due at midnight on Sunday and you will spend 10 hours each day finishing that. So bang, there's 20 hours in 1 week, but it averages out to about 9 hours per week. So if you were looking, oh God, I can't even do the maths. 4 9s are 36. Is that right?
All based on a lot of because we do survey our students quite regularly, so we can answer these questions. And I think based on the surveys, full-time is about an average 10 to 15 hours a week of study, then your tutorials on top. And part-time would be about half that. But every student is different based on how quick they are at reading, how quick they are at getting through assignments. Some students really go deep into a subject, so they want to explore it more. Some have maybe covered that subject in other studies or in life, so they can kind of skim through it. So it's really dependent on the student, but yeah, it is a big commitment. So you do have to look at your life and see how you can fit this in, and do it well, and actually be able to take on the studies and not just get through it. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Can you repeat? So that was 15 hours per week,
For full time, 10 to 15 hours a week, and then part time is obviously around half that because you do half the subjects.
So, Kate, with those 50 hours, are the videos incorporated into that 15 hours, or is that additional? You mentioned
Video as in what you need to watch.
Yeah.
I would say that would be incorporated with New Poll.
I think so. Like there will literally be
study time.
Yeah. There will literally be some weeks where you'll have 2 articles and you'll read them in under an hour. And there'll be other times where you'll have 2 articles and 2 chapters of a book, and that's going to take you 4 hours. But you know, averaging out, it can be worked in. I know students who have significant workloads, as in paid work, and have managed to do the online, and they've still felt like they were thriving while doing it.
Yeah, well, most of our students are mature age and they have businesses, practices, children, you know, they've already got very busy lives going on. We don't have students that are in their early 20s living at home and don't have a job and have all the time in the world to get the course done. So it is doable. You've just got to make the space, I guess, for it. Yeah, we do have, as Paul said, we do have the part-time option. So we do have some students starting part-time and then they switch to full-time if they feel they can take it on, or vice versa, they'll start full-time and then drop back to part-time. Okay.
Jody.
No, that's perfect. Okay. I was hoping 15 to 20 hours I can full-time. Then yep. And then to know, you know, that I'm wanting to do the blended, and I'll start at the beginning and work all the way through. So thank you so much for your explanation.
What's the rest of your life outside of class?
Well, I have an Eva and she is 20. She leaves in 8th of January to go and study her 4th year or first or term over in Scotland. So she's studying psychology and business, a double degree. And then my son has just left school and finished, and my youngest is going into year 10, and I have my own business and home. So I can just, prioritize. So I've just turned 50 and it's something I want to step into. So
it's a great time, great time to do it. And so many of our students are parents who have got their kids to the point where they've got some independence of their own, and now the parents are going, what else can I do with my life? And the skills that you have from running a business, the skills that you have from community work or being on the PTA, all of those things come together really well. Everything that you've done up until this point will help to inform what you're doing. And, you know, that's why I talk about having had a mediocre job. I worked in a clothing factory for a year, which was horrific. But I learned so much about what I wanted ultimately to do. Maybe I would have liked to have done it for a little bit less, but it was an interesting experience. So everything that you've done along the way, you're going to be able to find a nugget of information in there that will help you with your study. Even if it's as simple as, I will never set foot in a factory again, I will get this degree. If that's the motivation that gets me through. My motivation was, I failed high school. I feel like a failure. I feel like a loser. Let me tell you, that voice starts to shut up when you graduate. It actually starts to shut up when you hand back an essay that you think that was good and you get a distinction. Like that's a really phenomenal feeling. Anyone who's studied already will know what that feels like. Even if you know you're smart, if you do an essay and you think, wow, I nailed that, and you get it back and it's got a good mark and it's got great feedback. Like that's priceless. Other questions, folks? Maria.
I had a question. I heard you when you first started speaking talk about the Mendel model. You mentioned, I think you said the Mendel model, if I heard correctly.
Mendel.
Can you speak Mendel? Can you speak more about that, please?
Okay, so Arnie Mendel is the founder of process-oriented psychology, and that's the main model that we work on. So we will teach you a range of therapeutic techniques, but Mendel particularly foregrounds inner work and engagement on multiple levels, like interpersonal, intrapersonal, social, spiritual. That's the Mendel model. It's asking, it's really hard to encapsulate in 10 sentences or less. Like it really is something that you learn right across the degree, but it is about how to understand what's going on inside you while you're understanding what is coming up for the client. And if I can throw to Lizzie Spencer,
Yeah.
how would you describe Lizzie? Because Lizzie knows inside out. And Lizzie was one of my teachers in a previous existence.
Yeah. You can YouTube, if you YouTube Arnie Mendel, it's Mindell, or and Arnie died last year, was in his 80s, so this is something he's been pioneering. In a sense, it's descended from the Jungian type models. So he was a student, was a client of Jung's every now and then. He started off with physics, and he was really interested in the natural laws of the universe. And he figured that it must be possible that the human psychological order might be similar in some ways. I think one of the very core things is that what they call primary and secondary process is just that there's always emerging through the unconscious, and through us is always emerging really powerful parts of us that aren't yet in our day-to-day consciousness. So the psychotherapeutic skills are based around getting that emergence to happen, and to happen more easily and quickly. There are many sort of fundamental kind of principles, but they're quite non-labeling, a little slightly joyous. He follows the Tao. It's very positive, it's very loving, it's very warm. So if you find him on YouTube, his books are great. You probably read most of them, and it's a very generous and generative kind of model.
He is, like, I'm glad you used the word joyous, because when you see him presenting or talking to students or with a client on video, he really just has this childlike joy in how he connects. So Lizzie and I both taught at ACAT. I ran the clinical supervision department there, and Lizzie was a lecturer. So we go way back. So meet Lizzie. She's coming to do some more work with us. She's also a really lovely example of the type of people who we attract in terms of students and faculty. People who really can embody the knowledge and the practice into their personality.
Thanks, Paul. It's lovely.
Welcome. I like working with you. So Mendel, Mindell. Yeah, thanks for bringing up that there's a lot of him on YouTube too.
And you can look up the Process Work Institute, PWI, which is in America. And there's another quite strong branch, which is called the Deep Democracy Institute. And that's a global group. And that's to do with conflict, diversity, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions, folks? Sure. Sharon.
Hi, thank you. I'm just wanting to make or ask a question about maybe if I just call the college and just chat about previous experience, because I am interested in the masters, but whether I sort of fit into that, I'm just not quite sure. So I've actually done the Advanced Diploma of Transpersonal Art Therapy and Transpersonal Counselling with the College of Complementary Medicine. And I'm also just about to complete Diploma of Counselling, but none of them are level 8. I'm actually also enrolled in a grad dip at Griffith Uni doing autism studies, which I've just had to put on hold for the moment because my interest is working with kids with autism in art therapy. And most of my client base is NDIS, and there's a big shake up in that at the moment. So it's pretty much I'm going to lose probably 90% of my clients in the next 6 weeks. So I'm just transitioning a little into, becoming, accredited with PACFA and just working out what avenues I can go so I can keep practicing, because I have been working already for 4 years. So I'm sort of in a little bit of a sticky space, I guess. So, yeah.
Do you have an undergrad degree in any field?
Not yet. I will in May.
Okay, and that's the
autism course, yeah. That's graduate diploma, yes.
Yeah, sure, which is AQF
level 8, I think it is, but I haven't finished that yet.
Okay, so you would want to come into the masters and just do that second year of the masters?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm not quite sure, like, where I will fit into that, whether I've got to do the diploma first and then the masters, or whether I can just jump straight in.
I think that might be a conversation with Kate and or me through the week.
I'm here till about 12 tomorrow. If you want to give me a call, I'd be happy to go over this with you.
Yeah.
What
I will do that. Beautiful. Thank you.
That's okay.
What we're trying to do is to find pathways for people in. We don't want to say, here is our incredibly strict admission criteria and there's no flexibility. We do look at work experience. We do look at other trainings in the area. And if you're already PACFA accredited, that's going to count towards your benefit. So we'll be looking at where do you fit in and at what point would you want to start?
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. I shall call you tomorrow, Kate. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? I did just want to quickly make sure that everyone heard that we are moving the intensives to Brisbane for next year, which we're very excited about. So we've got an amazing venue surrounded by forest and animals, and it's beautiful. So yeah, I just want to make sure everyone got that beautiful announcement that we sent out, and if anyone had any questions about that.
Okay, are the dates changed from what was on the website, or are they the same?
I will let you know tomorrow.
Have a look.
I think there was a bit of an error in the email that went out to some of you, but the dates on the website are the correct dates. But I'll be sending another emailer out tomorrow.
Thank you.
More detail.
Thank you.
I think that's what my question was. I was unable to find on the website when the course actually begins. So when would we?
Okay. Oh, it's on there. There's an academic calendar on the webpage. It starts on the 10th of March. So all our courses start on the 10th of March, and then we have to scatter our intensives because we have second years and first years and part-timers and so forth going on at once. So yeah, go to the academic calendar on the website. All the dates are on there.
Thank you.
So yeah. Did anyone have any other burning questions or want to share anything?
What's the early bird discount?
Oh, it's I should know this off the top of my head. It's $1,000 off for the masters and $500 off for the graduate diploma. And we have extended it because normally people like to come to a free talk before they decide to finish their enrollment. So I wanted to push it beyond this. So you've got until the end of the week. And if you just get your enrollment form in and your application fee paid, then I can pop you through under the early bird special. And then we've got until the end of Feb to get your paperwork and your interview done.
Yeah.
Cool. I think some of you have already interviewed though, have you not? I'm pretty sure, yeah, Jessica's interviewed. She's ready to go.
So, Kate, you're just saying that you need the application in by Friday, not the money.
The application fee and just the $175 application fee, and I'm happy to honour the early bird discount if you can do that.
Thank you.
I know it's a crazy time of year, so some people get into a bit of a panic trying to get their application fee in and everything done in time. So, yeah. Any other? No, you've all been well informed.
Might be time to walk a dog then.
Yeah. Walk a dog and have some dinner. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for attending and your lovely questions. If anyone does have any questions that they think of later, you can email me or give me a call tomorrow. And yeah, as I said, we're here till the end of next week, so we're not going anywhere just yet. Although my brain's gone. Brilliant. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Paul, and
you.
thanks, Kate.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
No
Have a
problem.
great
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.